Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Final Word. Every night, we take a hard look at the stories and provide you with multiple points of view from here and around the world. We bring you news you can use, news you can trust. I'm Rico Hizon, and this is The Final Word on CNN Philippines. The wait is finally over for the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine from a global initiative. After several delays, the donated doses from the COVAX facility are in the country. The nation gets a boost with the arrival of more vaccines despite the shipment delays caused by the crippling surge in India. Find out how Filipino-Indian business groups are lending a hand with the vaccine supply. And with most schools remaining closed in the country, how do we prevent students from experiencing the so-called COVID-19 learning loss? We'll be speaking to Galileo Enrichment Learning Program's Rowie Juan Mati. We begin with breaking news at this hour and touchdown Manila for the first batch of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccines. Let's cross over now to Paulo Barcelon, who is at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Paulo, what can you tell us about the arrival of these Pfizer doses?
Well, good evening, Rico. You're right. After months of delay, the Pfizer vaccine has finally arrived here in the Philippines. The plane landed shortly before 9 o'clock this evening from Cebu City. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III says these vaccine doses will be given to areas which can handle the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine's ultra-cold temperature requirement of -70 to -80 degrees. We just got off an ambush interview with the National Task Force's Deputy Chief Implementer, Secretary Vince Dizon, who said that all 16 cities and one town of Metro Manila will be one of the first recipients of these coronavirus vaccines. And because these vaccines are donated by COVAX, Rico, medical frontliners will be the first to get them, followed by senior citizens and those with comorbidities. Now, we are being told, Rico, that these vaccines will be transported immediately to a cold storage facility in Marikina City. We've yet to check on details on when these vaccines will be rolled out. But one thing is for sure, Rico, these 193,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine has definitely arrived in the country. And after so much delay, because one of the concerns, Rico, about these delays is the indemnification. And we just got word from Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles that the Philippine government will be the ones paying for the indemnification in the event that there are adverse events regarding the vaccine. Rico?
Paulo Barcelon there reporting on the arrival of 193,000 Pfizer vaccines from the COVAX facility at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The Interior Department is getting to the bottom of a mass gathering in a resort in Caloocan that went viral over the weekend. The agency says charges will be filed against those who will be proven liable. Chrissy De Matulak has the details.
A video has now gone viral of a resort in Caloocan filled with people seemingly not following health protocols against COVID-19. Many trooped to the resort to celebrate Mother's Day on Sunday. After the video made rounds online, Gubat sa Ciudad Resort located in Barangay Bagumbong was ordered to shut down by Mayor Oka Malapitan.
Magpapahal kami ng criminal offense dito sa mga owner ng establishment. Papaylo namin siya ng RA 11332. Criminal offense to na kung saan ay nakapalobrito yung violation ng AITF guidelines.
Under the guidelines issued by the Interagency Task Force, resorts are only allowed to operate under a general community quarantine or modified general community quarantine. Caloocan police say they are now investigating the violations made by the resort and the local government unit.
Kasi sabi niya sa akin, nung inimbestigahan ko siya, nakasara pa yung dalawang resort doon sa barangay niya. And hindi niya alam na ganun kadami yung tao kahapon. So, we're still evaluating kung gaano katotoo yung statement niya sa akin kanina kasi pinatawag ko siya dito sa police headquarters.
During an interview with CNN Philippines, Interior Secretary Eduardo Anyos said guests could also be penalized for violating health protocols.
Nasa pandemic tayo yung non-cooperation ng ating mga constituents sa mga panuntunan kapag may epidemic, yan ay punishable, no? Under RA 11332. Pwede magmulta mula 20,000 hanggang 50,000. Pwede makulong ka ng isang buwan.
We reached out to some individuals who visited the resort and they say they are not aware that going to a resort is prohibited. According to Malapitan, they have identified 300 resort goers from the guest list they have obtained. He says most of them are not from Caloocan. Malapitan says Caloocan residents will be required to undergo a 10-day quarantine, while it is yet to be determined, upon the advice of the City Health Office, if resort goers will be required to undergo COVID-19 testing. The DILG said this should serve as a warning to other LGUs to remain strict when it comes to mass gatherings. We have reached out to the management of the resort who have yet to respond to our inquiries. Chrissy De Matulak, CNN Philippines.
Malacanang reiterates mass gatherings and tourism activities are strictly prohibited in areas under MECQ. The palace appeals for cooperation to avoid a similar scenario in India, where mass gatherings are among the causes of the deadly second wave of infections. Some mayors agree with experts that Metro Manila and nearby provinces can consider easing quarantine rules. The Octa Research Group says the average daily COVID-19 cases in the region may further dip to below 1,900 by Friday, when the modified enhanced community quarantine is scheduled to end. Marikina City Mayor Marcy Teodoro says recession will be a bigger problem than the health crisis if lockdowns are prolonged.
Economic na yun eh. Economic na yung problem talaga eh. Daming taong displaced eh. Workers na displaced eh. Dapat i-ramp up pa rin. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung mga testing, contact tracing, aggressively gawin. Tapos, yun, yung vaccination, yung timely and effective rollout. Kailangan talaga.
Navotas Mayor Toby Tiangco said that too many people are suffering from strict quarantines. Quezon City's Joy Belmonte also brought up the possible mental health issues and social unrest due to poverty and hunger. Taguig City's Lino Cayetano also favors opening up society and aggressively transitioning to the new normal. As for the Trade Department, placing the country's economic hub in GCQ is possible with strict localized lockdowns for areas with rising infections. The Employers Confederation of the Philippines supports the shift as long as it is accompanied by effective contact tracing and stricter implementation of health protocols. And we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, an appeal from the government as it works to get more people immunized. And the country may not get its hands on vaccines from India anytime soon. We'll be hearing how Filipino-Indian businessmen are doing their part amid possible delivery delays. Keep it right here on CNN Philippines. News you can trust. Glad you're staying with us on The Final Word on CNN Philippines. I'm Rico Hizon. Members of the Nayong Pilipino Foundation raised concerns about the proposed mega vaccination site in the protected area. But vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says time is of the essence as the government steps up vaccination amid the pandemic. Tristan Nodalo has the details.
So many questions left unanswered. This is how resigned Nayong Pilipino Foundation Executive Director Lucille Karen Isberto described the proposed mega vaccination center in the urban forest.
We never, ever opposed that. We just thought, how can that be done in such a way that we respect and do our duty as stewards of the environment under the Constitution?
The Nayong Pilipino Foundation first found out about the proposal of business tycoon Enrique Razon to build a mega vaccination center in March, coursed through the Tourism Department. A letter supporting the project followed through from Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez on April 8th.
What was being proposed to us was free use by a private entity of land belonging to government.
After a series of consultations, the same foundation flags possible legal repercussions on allowing private sector to use government land for free in violation of Presidential Decree No. 1445, not to mention the environmental impact of the project.
So does that mean, are you going to tear down the existing forest and destroy the ecosystem and turn it into parking lots and roads, 7 hectares? Why do you have to do that?
The Nayong Pilipino land is also the site of mega quarantine facility operated by the armed forces. The urban forest is thriving and serves as a buffer zone of Las Piñas Parañaque Critical Habitat and Ecotourism Area or protected wetlands under an international convention. 500 trees are also at risk of being cut down.
Where is Nayon's place in the vaccination plan? Why is DOH, the agency in charge, not contacting us and saying, hurry up, hurry up?
But for Secretary Galvez, it's not an issue of trees versus people's lives. The Vaccine Czar adds that the project could help inoculate 10,000 Filipinos daily to meet the government's vaccination target. It's a race against time. That's how the National Task Force Against COVID-19 defends its decision to construct a mega vaccination center in the 9.5-hectare land within Nayong Pilipino property. But for its board and some environmental groups, the decision should be carefully planned, saying that this will not only affect hundreds of trees, but will have a long-term impact into an entire ecosystem. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
Businessman Enrique Razon, who earlier offered to build a vaccination site, has no comment on the foundation's concerns. Razon's team referred CNN Philippines to the project's architect, who has yet to respond to our request for an interview. Well, the Philippines welcomed more COVID-19 vaccines earlier from Pfizer and the COVAX facility. This time, the country expects a delay in other shipments because of the deadly second wave crippling India. The Indian government halted exports as manufacturers pushed to meet vaccine production requirements. As the waiting game continues, Filipino-Indian businessmen are pitching in to boost the country's vaccine supply. Let's hear more now from Rex Darianani, chairman of the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce, Philippines. Rex, thank you so much for joining us on the program. The Federation has really worked tirelessly to bring more vaccines from India to the country. Will the vaccine supply into the Philippines be affected by the soaring number of COVID cases in India?
Hi, Rico. Thank you for having us. As you all know, the Serum Institute of India is the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world. And they take care of manufacturing AstraZeneca under the brand name Covishield. And they also will be the ones to manufacture Novavax. As you're also aware, the country has placed an order for Novavax. However, Novavax has yet to apply for an EUA with our FDA and with other FDAs abroad. We are now very hopeful on Bharat Biotech, which is a wholly Indian company that has developed the Covaxin brand of vaccines. This is the vaccine that the Prime Minister of India himself took. Medyo sayang lang because we had access to 20 million doses.
Rex?
I understand that we lost that to Brazil. We are hard at work now that a conditional EUA has been approved by the FDA, who is waiting for a GMP. We're made to understand from Brazil before the final EUA can be given a go signal. We're also waiting for the tripartite agreement to be approved. Once that's done, then we go into high gear and negotiating with Bharat Biotech for stocks of Covaxin to come in.
Right. So another drop ball there for 20 million doses of Covaxin, just like what happened to Pfizer when we were supposed to get 10 million doses in early January. But with the slow processing from the government, we've lost basically in the early stages about 30 million doses when we could have already had it now. So, okay, that is the past, Rex. So when can we expect Covaxin or the Novavax doses to arrive here in the country? Anytime soon?
As far as Covaxin is concerned, the moment the FDA grants the final EUA as well as the tripartite agreement gets signed, then that's the only time that we can go and negotiate hard. We have been assured close to 8 million doses for the Philippines, but sadly, with what is happening now in India, which is really very sad and very unfortunate, we do understand the need for the Indian government to put a hold on their exports because they badly need it. We are confident and very, very believe very strongly that the Indian government will be able to turn this around and the Indian people will come up ahead. And just the minute that turnaround happens, we are confident that the Indian government will help us and get some vaccines to the Philippines quickly.
Yeah, because if you take a look at India and China, I mean, these are two manufacturing hubs right now for vaccines. But China was given the priority. India is also an Asian neighbor, but the government didn't give it any priority for the procurement of vaccines.
India, we assure you, will be a great friend to the Philippines. And I guess it just takes some time before this friendship flourishes. But we are confident and we are hard at work to make sure that the relationship between India and the Philippines flourishes in a way that it will benefit the Philippines. A lot of hard work is needed on how we approve pharmaceutical products from India. Indian medicines are very low priced and very good. However, they're not part of this international association called PICS, which is why more often than not, approvals of Indian pharmaceuticals takes close to 4 years from our FDA. So really, a lot of work has to be done in changing the mindset, in putting our own people in our embassy in Delhi to be able to visit those factories and to get the job done. This pandemic has shown us the importance of public health, and we as a chamber appeal to the government to really look at India, work with India, and India will be a best friend to the Philippines. That we are very confident.
That is very good news that the Federation as well is working tirelessly to bring in more of these vaccines from India. But of course, Rex, it is devastating to see our brothers and sisters in India going through very tough times amid an oxygen supply shortage. Could we also face the same problems if there's a surge yet again of cases?
Rico, that is a very, very real possibility, which is why it is critical for us in the Philippines today. We appeal to the DOH to please take a look at our oxygen supply and whether or not our hospitals will be able to handle a surge like the surge that has transpired in India. And it is also very critical that the local governments, all the way down to the barangay level, really ensure that health protocols are followed. We cannot afford to get lax. We cannot afford to lose more people.
Absolutely. And of course, Okta research is saying that we may see a fall in the number of infections by the end of MECQ to below 2,000. So we have to remain vigilant going forward if we shift back to general community quarantine. How are members of the chamber, Rex, helping our fellow kababayans as we continue to face this COVID-19 battle?
You know, Rico, it's very heartwarming as chair of the chamber to have seen how our members responded. The moment COVID happened last year, the chamber was one of the very first organizations to respond with the PPEs. One of its members brought in 3 plane loads of masks equivalent to 18 million pieces. A sizable donation was then made to the government, and we made it a point that these masks were available nationwide for people to purchase. At the same time, the chamber has actively worked on providing 2 PCR machines to the PCMC Medical Center that has become our research lab for COVID, among many other initiatives by different members who have worked tirelessly. Most of all, what we're very happy to see is our members have worked really hard to let our employees keep their jobs. And that's been our battle cry to all our members. Whatever happens, we cannot lay off our workers.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word. Rex Daryanani, Chairman of the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce, Philippines. And straight ahead, with online classes becoming the norm, we'll take a look at how the pandemic is affecting children's academic progress. And another Filipino athlete gets to compete in the sporting world's biggest stage. Details when we come back, right here on CNN Philippines. News you can trust. Welcome back to the final word on CNN Philippines. I'm Rico Hizon. In sports, another Filipino athlete makes it to the Tokyo Olympics. Rower Chris Naveras says the country's 8th representative to the Summer Games. The World Rowing Federation confirmed his qualification. The 2019 Southeast Asian Games gold medalist will compete at the men's sculls event from July 23rd to the 30th. BMX champion Patrick Koo will vie for a spot at the International Cycling Union World Cup Round 4 Olympic qualifier. The tournament will take place in Bogota, Colombia on May 30th. Koo needs to finish at least in 4th place in the qualifiers to land a spot. Japan's Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga says it's up to the International Olympic Committee to decide on the fate of the Games. Organizers have been criticized for pushing through with this massive event despite the supposed slow rollout of COVID-19 vaccines and surging cases there. Learning does not stop despite the COVID-19 pandemic, but the challenges remain. According to latest data from the international agency UNESCO, the Philippines is among 27 countries globally that have yet to reopen schools. Distance learning is a new normal, at least for now, with President Duterte not yet giving the go signal for physical classes. So how do we prevent the so-called COVID learning loss? Let's find out from Rowie Juan Mati, owner of the Galileo Enrichment Learning Program. Rowie, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Due to COVID-19, parents and teachers have been, dealing with school shutdowns for more than one school year now without face-to-face learning. Has this affected their kids' learning and mental health?
Yeah, let me cut that into two. In terms of learning, there's really what you call COVID learning loss. Children now are learning online, so the time spent for each subject is less. So it's almost half. Children used to go to school the whole day, let's say from 7 to 2 or 7 to 3. Now they go to school. If it's online, they're with the teacher from 8 to 11 or 8 to 12. So the time spent per subject is less. For children who don't have internet, they have modules
Yes.
So that's what they work on. The parents are trained to teach them, and they have time to work with the teacher once a week or twice a week online using Facebook. And then the children who are doing online have to adjust to online learning.
Yes.
So it's hard to get the attention.
So that's
sometimes.
basically like blended learning, which is very popular right now in many public schools. But Rowie, without the face-to-face learning, do students really have the urgency to learn and study online?
I think what's important is if they find a good curriculum and good teachers. Like for Galileo, the curriculum is prepared by experts and the teachers are well trained. So the teachers are trained to be able to get the attention of the children so that they will be engaged. They can learn while having fun so that they can retain what they're supposed to learn. I think that's the best way to do it if the teachers are well trained.
But of course, students and parents also have to take the initiative, particularly during the summer break. Will there be a lot more learning loss with no activities and no online classes?
Before, there was already
Rowie?
So what's important is during the summer, I think this will be a good time to catch up on whatever learning loss they experienced during the school year. So adapting to the new way of learning, less time spent in school. During the summer, it will be a good time to be able to catch up with whatever gaps that happened during the school year. So it's important to...
So Rowie, share with us, how
for
can
next
this...
school year during the summer, they can master the topics that they missed out during the school year. So I would recommend that they enroll in a program, even if it's just twice a week, as long as they're learning. For me as an educator, my advocacy now is to tell the parents to let their children continue learning. Even if schools are closed, learning should continue.
But how
and
can
it's
this
really fine?
But Rowie, how can this COVID education slide be prevented with online learning? What are your recommendations? Because there are different kinds of schools here across the country. Some can take on already students with the kind of infrastructure that they have, and other schools can only take in blended learning.
So what I recommend is, I think what's more important now is really the health and safety of the people. So I will not recommend face-to-face learning yet until it's safe, because it's dangerous for the children, for our family, and for the nation. So it's important to be able to find a program that they can enroll in that's well prepared, because parents will have to decide. In the beginning, they're so worried, they didn't know what to do. A lot of parents actually last year decided just to keep their children at home and not enroll in any program or not do anything. What's important is to choose a program that they can enroll in. If they have internet, enroll in a program. I mean, like Galileo, that's just twice a week. And for preschoolers, we have a program that's every day, because there are so many things happening. In terms of mental health also, children, people are social beings. When they're young, this is the time they learn to socialize, but that's not happening now. So it's important that we look at that also. So we have a program that has socialization, because even if it's just online, children can talk to each other, can talk to a teacher, and that will take care of socialization for now. And then the parents also can, there are programs that they can look at in the internet that can help children as well. But what's important is that children should continue learning.
Yes. That should continue even during the summer break. Thank you so much for joining us,
what's important
Rowie.
is really the summer.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, Rowie Wanmati from Galileo Enrichment Learning Program. And we leave you now with words from American author Brian Herbert. The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice. And that's the final word this Monday, May the 10th. Join us again tomorrow for news you can use, news you can trust. I'm Rico Hizon. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.